Hello again. This is Stephen K. Moore, author of the book Free Fall, God's Path to Courage and Boldness. And if you don't have that book yet, you might want to grab it. But we're going to cover the essence of the book, kind of shorter versions of each chapter and taking you through the path to courage and boldness. Today we're going to talk about setting your mind, as a big spiritual word for that we call volition. And just to read to you real quick, this is from a book called Renovation of the Heart by Dallas Willard. Really great book. But Dallas says, volition or choice is the exercise of the will, the capacity of persons to originate things and events that would not otherwise be or occur. By originate here, we mean to include two of the things most prized in human life, freedom and creativity. These are really two aspects of the same thing when properly understood, which is the power to do good and evil. Yeah, good enough. We need to exercise volition towards being more courageous if that's what we really want to be. But here's the thing. There's a story about Jesus and a guy who had been unable to walk for 38 years. It's found in John chapter 5. But in the middle of this, Jesus encounters this guy and he asks him a question that people have wondered about for a long time. He looks at this guy who I guess his family brings him there every day. He's waiting to get into a pool that supposedly had healing powers whenever an angel would stir it, according to some of the older translations. So this guy's been sitting there for who knows how long, and he sees the guy, Jesus sees this guy and says, do you want to be healed? How did he say it? We don't really know, but it's kind of an interesting question, isn't it? And what it's dealing with, I think, what I perceive in Jesus' words is that there is a trend sometimes that we get comfortable where we are, even if it's not in a very good place. This guy maybe had found his little niche in town, and he's kind of comfortable coming to that place every day. His family takes care of him. Maybe he comes there, and some of the older women in town come out and bring food and sit and talk with him. He's kind of got a little bit of a market there. He's known as the guy who can't walk. I've seen this happen in counseling sessions wherever someone's been through some really severe trauma and they start working through it and getting better, and all of a sudden the counselor says, hey, I think you're ready to graduate. And they freak out because their victimhood, their helpless status has become what they are. And so the question you do need to answer is, when it comes to being courageous, is a version of what Jesus said. Do you really want to be courageous? Because being courageous sometimes can be a little bit scary. Well, if the answer is yes, just keep watching. Let's talk about this. There are some practical steps that you can take. The first one may sound entirely too obvious, but choose your direction. You know, when we're fearful, quite often we just choose to shut down. We choose to take what seems to be the safe path, but the safe path is not safe because that's how we miss the good stuff in life. Living in fear is living death. It's not really living. Everyone's going to die, so there's no need to be afraid of that. But most people are so afraid to die, they never really live. So choose your direction towards God and towards courage, which is doing what God intends for you to do. So first of all, one of the best ways you can do this is just to choose to spend the first part of your day, preferably in a conversation with God. That means picking up your Bible, seeing what he has to teach you for the day. Remember, you are listening to a conversation when you're reading your Bible. So I don't say read your Bible, I say have a conversation. So you're listening, you're talking to him, what we sometimes call prayer, and you're also meditating and reflecting on what you read and see, what is God teaching me through this? All those passages where he says, do not be anxious, do not be afraid. How does that apply in your life? So first step is just to choose your direction. Second thing that can really help you is to work on the spiritual disciplines. One of the reasons we're quite often afraid is just because of our flesh. It's kind of the more animalistic portion of who we are. And it's not that it's bad. The flesh isn't bad, but sometimes we choose, once again, to take the easy path. We take the path of non-suffering. But we grow through suffering. We need to remember something that King David said in one of the Psalms. He said, taste and see that the Lord is good. This is going to come up later on one of our other sessions together, but here's the thing. Part of discovering that God is with you is stepping out in faith. something makes you afraid, do what we're going to tell you, which is, first of all, give it a name. Just say, I'm afraid, but then look at God and say, because you're having these conversations in the morning with him, and say, hey, I'm going to step out into this. So anyway, that's kind of the big stuff for today. Tune in for the next session, and let's do this.